Welcome to a short preview of this Screencasts Online video tutorial.
This week, I'd like to teach you how to use a fantastic app called Keep It from Reinvented Software. Keep It is a notebook, scrapbook, and organizer ideal for writing notes, keeping web links, storing documents, images, or pretty much any kind of file, and finding them again. Imagine having access to audio and video and disk images and, like I said, pretty much anything you can think of, and actually being able to find it again. Keep It is available on Mac and as a separate app for iPhone and iPad. Keep It is the destination for all those things you want to put somewhere, confident you will find them again later. Keep It is the successor to Together, which I taught you about in Screencast Online tutorial 547 back in 2016. One of the reasons I'm so enthusiastic about Keep It is because your data isn't locked into a restrictive database. Everything you do in Keep It is visible in the Finder. If you're coming from Together 3 or from Evernote, for example, Keep It will import all of your data. We won't go through the process in this tutorial, but there are very specific instructions on how to liberate your data on the Reinvented Software support site. Keep It is in very active development, and the developer is extremely responsive to user requests. The developer of Keep It has worked really hard to create pricing to make everybody happy. As a result, it looks kind of complicated, but let's break it down so you can see which model is best for you. On the Mac, if you would prefer to purchase outright your application, you can do that, and you can do it in one of two ways. You can buy it directly from Reinvented Software for $49.99 US, or you can buy it through the Mac App Store for the same price. Alternatively, if you would prefer to have a subscription model where you always get all of the updates for free, it's $19.99 per year in the Mac App Store or $2.49 per month. Now, iOS pricing is only by subscription model, and that'll be $9.99 per year in the App Store or $1.49 per month in the iOS App Store. If you're a previous owner of Together 3, there are some upgrade options as well. At the link here, you can find out all of the information on the best way to buy Keep It for you. And of course, there's a free trial over at reinventedsoftware.com. Let's take a really quick look at the Reinvented Software website. When you first get here, you'll notice Keep It on the left, and he also has an application called Feeder, which is a terrific app for those creating podcasts. Let's take a look at Keep It. When you first go here, the Mac section is highlighted, so you'll be able to scroll down and see the features, download the application, and buy. We also have a section for the iPad and iPhone. In this section, if you click on the App Store, that will take you into the iOS App Store. I didn't mention it earlier, but the iPad and iPhone versions are universal, so you don't have to buy it separately for each type of device. I've already installed Keep It, so let's quit Safari now and take a look at Keep It.
That's just a quick preview of one of this week's Apple-related tutorials from Screencasts Online. Screencasts Online is your premium source of Apple-related video tutorials. All of our members get access to brand new, up-to-date tutorials each week, as well as unlimited access to our entire video archive full of Mac and iOS-related tutorials. You can stream and download all of our videos on your Mac, iPad and iPhone, and even your Apple TV using the members-only Screencasts Online Apple TV app. Membership also includes a complimentary subscription to the digital Screencasts Online monthly magazine, published each month and packed with videos, articles, reviews, as well as hints and tips covering all aspects of the Mac, iPad, iPhone, and all of the other fantastic Apple products. So, if you're ready to start getting the most out of your Apple devices, visit screencastsonline.com today and become a Screencasts Online member.